It's harvest time for pumpkin or calabasa. We're bringing this home and let's bake a pumpkin or calabasa roll. There are glitches, fails within Troubleshoot, and a happy ending. You're watching the cooking series. Let's join Ravila at his small kitchen.
Hello, welcome back to our small kitchen. I'm happy to be at home finally after the trip to the garden. And welcome back to our cameraman who's able to join us today. He was able to pass the quarantine border control. Welcome back, cameraman. Perhaps you find this overdressed, but there's something wrong with my collar and I need something to bind it. That's why I'm wearing a tie, just to tie the collar. As you might have heard in the introduction, we're baking today a calabasa or pumpkin roll. The recipe calls for just 2/3 cup of a pumpkin. We have this big harvest. Thank you, Madam Grace. This is my share of the harvest. I'll be dividing this and sharing the rest to the neighborhood and keeping the rest as well. I'll be using the rest as well for other recipes. That's why come back for our ginataang calabasa. The rest I'll be freezing for future use. I'm curious because the first batch or the first harvest was prematurely harvested by my Madam Grace, and she said it was young. She was able to cook it without peeling it because the peel is still tender. I'm curious with this. This is really hard. Yeah. I think this is mature enough. Okay. Let's set this aside for now and let's bring it to the neighborhood later. By the way, I'm following the recipe of Preppy Kitchen, one of my most admired baking channels. That's where I get most of my inspiration. The recipe calls for a pureed pumpkin can, but I have it fresh here, so I have to puree this. This is the amount that we needed. The rest I'll be keeping for the other recipe, ginataang calabasa, coming up. This is easy. That's what I love with cookies, or that's what I love with cakes, because it's easy to make as long as you know the measurements and you have the ingredients. Easy.
Ingredients, yes. 3 eggs, 3/4 cup flour, 1 cup sugar, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda and baking powder, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon ginger powder and nutmeg, 2/3 cup pureed pumpkin. And for filling or frosting, cream cheese, butter, vanilla, and confectioners sugar.
So the discipline is to strain the flour. All the dry ingredients. The cinnamon, ginger, and the nutmeg. Baking powder. What's the other? Baking powder and the baking soda. I'm so confused. Before I didn't use baking soda, just powder, which did well. But I learned that the use of the second ingredient makes the cake softer. Imagine the size of the calabasa. We need only 2/3 cup. And the eggs. There we go. We have a mixer, but it's easy to use this. It's a simple task. Mix well. The oven is now preheating. preheating to 175 degrees Celsius. I forgot the Fahrenheit equivalent, just refer to the subtitle and in the description box. I baked a brioche last night, and although it tastes perfect, the texture is not perfect. I have to redo this again. This is the first time I'm gonna use this. So this is the inaugural cake. We have to line this with anti-adhesive. What is this called? I even forgot the name. What is this called? This is a 15 by 10 tray. I don't understand why they call this jelly tray. Yeah. Now let's fill our tray with our butter here. It's on the wet side. I'm surprised. Look, now you understand why I wore this colored sweater. If this turns out to be failed, we'll have to reshoot this.
I'm smelling disaster, Romulo.
I'm apprehensive. This is really wet. I think it has to do with the fresh Calabasa or fresh pumpkin. Let's see how this resolves.
Don't go away yet. Learning from mistakes here. Lots of learning.
For at least 15 minutes at 175 Celsius. Yeah. I went out. I left this to cool down, which is not good. It's wet. That's why it's not very promising. Look, it's shrunk. Yes, it's really very wet. I have to do this again. This time I'll gradually add my egg to avoid the egg white introducing too much wetness. Yeah. This how should it be. Butter should not be wetter than this. That's what I've been seeing. This is still wet, but this is promising. Good. It's been 20 minutes. Let's see. Oi, oi, oi. This is better. It's still on the wet side, but this is acceptable. Now, we'll invert this. Most cake makers use parchment paper, but what I've learned is
Parchment paper
catches the steam, so it keeps the wetness inside, so better use kitchen towel, and that's what we're using. Spray with sugar, confectioner's sugar, just to keep it from sticking to the kitchen towel. Now, the kitchen towel. Never seen before. And invert. Ah, that was difficult. Almost I missed fatherless. The wrinkles won't matter because they will not be visible anyway. I'm gonna roll this to train the cake while still warm. Yeah. The purpose for this is to train the cake. It's easy to roll it back later because it already knows the form it has to assume. The advantage of using a towel is it allows the steam to escape. If this was parchment paper, the wetness is trapped inside. Something learned today. See, learning from our mistakes. This noisy, our cameraman chooses to do the vacuuming. So, we're using a stand. Welcome to our day 2. This was the first attempt, which was not bad at all. It's just too wet, but it's still edible. It's acceptable. I just want it dry, and that's why we made the second attempt, which is to my liking. This is it now. We will now apply the filling. Look how lovely it is, how well it was formed. We'll prepare the frosting now. This is where we need the help of our mixer. According to the recipe, I have to be obedient. Creme fraiche at room temperature. Did I say creme fraiche? No. Cream cheese. Cream cheese. And butter, also at room temperature. Plus the confectioner's sugar later. But I might as well place it here now. Okay. Just to add vanilla flavor. Without adding much sweetness. Let's try whisking the butter first.
This should be ready now.
Let's just wrap it in plastic foil and let it set in the fridge for 3 hours.
Let's cut the edges to reveal the swirls or spirals. Voila.
It's time to serve. I was expecting more spiral. This is short. Finally, I'm happy with this. Really, not much enough spirals, but it should be delicious. I'm happy with the result. If you're interested in our other cake recipes, click on the cake and pastries playlist. Yes, this is delicious. Something learned today, obey the recipes. If you're not a pro, just like me, don't dare to change anything.
Thank you for joining me here today, here in Holland. Your uncle and kuya here, Romilo. Until next time, Diyos Tagpati.